Welcome to part 2 of Dogs and Critters. So we are going to talk about some things that we can do to help our dogs a little bit more at home. So this is practicing and training for the moment instead of practicing and training in the moment. But we're also going to talk about what can we do to help manage the situation, to be proactive before something happens to occur. But also, what do we do when our dog has already seen the critter, the bunny, the squirrel, the goose, the mouse, whatever it may be. So some things that we can do in the home. So it is really important that we give our dogs ample opportunities and set them up for success. So what you are going to want to do is work on your positive relationship building and also work on your positive reinforcement history with your dog. Make that relationship and bond even stronger. So then what we hope is that instead of our dog seeing whatever it is that they get super crazy excited about and losing their mind and just going on instinct, they might pause, wait a second, maybe look to you for some more guidance or look to you for some support. So we want to train for the moment, not necessarily in the moment. And that's where we're going to work on things like nose targeting. So this is the touch behavior where you teach your dog to touch certain items with their nose. We're also going to work on eye contact and focus. So we're going to very heavily reward anytime that our dog happens to make eye contact with us. So we want our dogs to learn that it's good to check in with us and it's good to make eye contact. And eye contact is actually a behavior that gives them the opportunity to earn rewards. And dogs are all about earning rewards. So some other things that we can do are consider getting your dog a flirt pole. So it's basically a giant cat wand, but it's made for dogs. So it allows them to actually do the full predatory sequence, and they actually get to catch the little stuffed animal or toy that might be at the end of the wand, so they don't always get stuck in that chase, because chase can be very rewarding for dogs in itself. So then a lot of dogs are actually not so focused on catching the critter because they never have caught the critter. They're more focused on the adrenaline rush and the adrenaline high that they get during the chase. Other things that we can do are increase their mental enrichment and stimulation. So give them opportunities to dig and forage for their food and work for their food. So this can be puzzle toys. You can buy ones at the store, but you can also make your own puzzle toys as well. So you can do this with things that you were going to throw out or recycle anyway. Just let your dog have a little bit of fun with them. So it's that mental enrichment and stimulation. So it's encouraging them and allowing them to work their brains and use their brains and actually forage for their food. What else can we do? We can also work on response to their name and certain sounds. So much like with the eye contact, we want to see if we can get our dog's attention and focus back on us and maybe intercept them before they happen to click over from the working thinking brain more into that emotional side of their brain. You can also work more on leave it. There are a few things that can happen with leave it, and it can be that your dog doesn't really have a thorough understanding of what leave it may encompass. We overuse the term leave it, so it just kind of becomes background noise and a cue that they hear all the time, but not necessarily one that they always follow. Or they're in such a highly stimulating environment and situation, they're not actually able to complete the request of the leave it because they are just so gosh darn excited. So, okay, so those are some things that we can do in the house. Some things that we can do when we're actually out and about. So I'm a huge fan of environmental management. So managing the parts and conditions of the environment that you have control over. So we don't necessarily have control over where critters might live, but we do have control over the time of day that we take our dogs out. So if we know that our dog likes bunnies and bunnies happen to be out first thing in the morning and later in the evening, we can adjust our walking schedule so we are less likely to encounter a bunny. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but maybe less likely, so the temptation is not necessarily there. You can also take your dog to different environments where you know that there is not a huge population of that certain critter or at all. So some of my favorites are like industrial parks, parking lots. If it's too hot out, you can even do a parking garage. Cemeteries are a really great place to go, actually, especially if your dog is just reactive to a variety of things, because cemeteries tend to be fairly quiet. So those are some things that you can do to manage the environment, but we also want to look at having the skills and the knowledge to be proactive in the situation. So my friends, if you happen to spot a bunny before your dog does, that is fantastic. Take that as an opportunity to walk the other way with your dog, change direction, because chances are the closer we get to the bunny, your dog is going to notice the bunny. Closer we get to the bunny, the bunny is actually going to move, and that is going to send your dog through the roof. So if you see the bunny, choose an alternate route, because if your dog doesn't see the bunny, then it's almost like the bunny was never there. So also always kind of be looking around. This is why when I am out walking with dogs, I don't necessarily listen to podcasts or books on tape anymore or anything, because I've noticed that my focus is sometimes pulled from the environment. I'm not necessarily focusing on what's going on in the environment. So not that you have to be hyper vigilant and anxious, but you do kind of have to be scanning around to see kind of what's coming down the pike, you know, or even if you're walking by areas where you typically do see bunnies, things like that. You're not going to be startled like your dog might be startled. But we also have to consider that we can't always plan for the situation. So I know all of you have been out there walking your dog before, and at least for me, mostly it's been the bunnies literally come flying out of nowhere. I mean, it's like raining bunnies that you're just like, what the heck, where did that bunny come from? Holy cow. And then of course, you've already lost your dog because they've already seen the bunny, they heard the bunny, they smelled the bunny, things like that. So that's in a situation where, you know, now we have to be reactive, because unfortunately the behavior has already occurred. So, you know, it's not really a matter of, you know, oh my gosh, my dog needs to calm down right now or anything like that. You know, we are looking for recovery. So, you know, is your dog able to recover from the situation? And by recovery, I mean, you know, we see the bunny, we try to chase the bunny, everyone's getting all crazy and all tangled up in the leashes, and it's kind of a highly charged situation, but are they able to walk away from the bunny? Are they able to maybe calm down a little bit? And this is where, if you do have a bunny that comes flying out into your path, or a bird or a squirrel or a prairie dog, whatever your dog's kryptonite might be, we are looking for that recovery. So unfortunately we can't plan for every situation. So, but that's, you know, distance will be your friend. So if you do happen to have something like that, I would encourage turning away from the situation and running away, because from your dog's point of view, they're just going to be like, oh, my person decided in a spontaneous game of chase. Okay, well, I guess we're doing this now, and forget the bunny. So by playing games with your dogs and, you know, not necessarily focusing on the bunny or anything like that, redirection, giving them something else to do, we can kind of help them find their brain a little bit. And then when you get far enough from whatever triggered them, so I've been using the example of bunnies, when you get far enough away from whatever triggered them, then you can see if you can actually get your dog's attention back. And this is where you can do certain things like touch and working on eye contact, or even just responsiveness to their name.
So one thing I forgot to mention is the power of scatter feeding. As you can see, Brutus is totally into all this scatter feeding, and it's helped him remain and build duration while working and down. Brody and Goldie are participating in the scatter feeding and using their noses, while other dogs and squirrels are nearby. So they're choosing to do this activity instead of choosing to interact with the dogs and squirrels. Olive is also doing the scatter feeding. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, but at one point in the video, a very loud motorcycle drives by. And as you can see, she's so focused on the food rewards and the food activity, she doesn't really even seem fazed by it. She wants to do this activity instead of interacting with everything else. And here, Leafy and Rosie, who absolutely love squirrels, spotted a squirrel in that tree over there. And I did have to move them a little bit of ways to create some distance, but they're doing what's called an incompatible behavior. So they can't interact with the squirrel and do the food eating activity at the same time. So they have a choice to make. and they're going to choose the one that's most important to them. And in this case, it was the scatter feeding and the food. So here Nala is in the park, and there are kids nearby. And one of Nala's most favorite activities is practicing her nose target, or her nose touch. So that is where I hold my hand out to her and she touches her nose to my hand. And you will be able to see in the video a little bit, there is another dog that is nearby and starts approaching us, and you can kind of see her attention kind of starts waning a little bit. You can see, there it is right there. And she's like, wait a second, but I want to earn the food rewards. I still have my eyes on the dog that's coming in. I might want to interact with him. I'm keeping her focus. And then eventually I lost her, so we did have to get up and move away from the dog just a little bit. So in this next one, this is Olive again. So we are working on a nose target. You will see in the video that she turns around and looks at two ladies and a dog walking nearby. So she has a choice to make. Do I want to interact with the dog and the ladies, or do I want to keep earning food rewards from Casey? And she chose to keep earning food rewards from me. And then we also worked a little bit on chase, or Olive kind of has one speed. She doesn't move very fast. She is more of a saunter. But adding some movement component to it can be really helpful, because then it just kind of changes gears for your dogs, and then they get to chase you instead of wanting to chase whatever it is they were interested in. So you can see Sheena here is a little bit more enthusiastic about playing chase with me, but her focus and attention are on me and playing the game and the opportunity to earn rewards. And she doesn't really seem to care very much about anything else, because she's having such a great time doing this current activity.